And when they said hip hop music was dead, your ears they fed, shed sweat, tears, and be like, come on, man. Come on, man. Come. Stop playing with Grip. Stop playing with Grip. All right, so a couple weeks ago, the rapper Grip dropped an album called I Die For This. This album is fire. This album is fire. I'll give you a little bit of background of Grip if you're not familiar with him. Grip is a rapper from East Atlanta, Zone 6. He's a rapper who got on my radar with his 2019 album called Snubnose. Album was sick. This album was in my top 10 albums for 2019. This album will be in your top 10 albums of 2019 if you weren't asleep. And what really stood out about the album is, one, this nigga can spit. His flows are crazy. His rhyme schemes are crazy. He'll throw out punchlines. And then on top of that, the concept for the album was insane. For track one of the album, Snubnose, the concept just punches you in the face. It's like, bro, what is this? What am I listening to? So basically what happens, without giving away the whole album, he takes pretty much his story and he raps it from the perspective of the guns that were around him in his environment. It sounds crazy because it is crazy, but go ahead and listen to that. Since that album, he's gotten a lot of comparisons. I know he hated it, but he's been getting compared to guys like Kendrick Lamar, guys like Jid, mainly because he doesn't sound like either one of those guys in my opinion, but both of those guys have really creative flows. They're able to switch up their flows, and he's able to tie like his rhyme scheme into stuff like meter, and it comes off as really, really good for the music nerds out there. But if he's in company of guys like Kendrick and Jid, that kind of just tells you what echelon people are putting him in. He also just signed a deal with Shady Records. That can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on where you're standing. Historically, the album's been kind of mid after signing to Shady, but Grip definitely breaks the Shady curse. I don't know if that's a real thing, but Grip breaks the Shady curse with this album because this album is that pack. It's that heater pack. It's that flamethrower. The first thing that stands out to this album that we can dive into is the concept, because I think the concept was brilliant. So the concept behind the album is it's set up as a stage play. So the first song on the album is called Enter Stage Left. Last song is called Exit Stage Right, or it might be vice versa, one of the two. And so everything inside those two songs, intro, outro, is the like scenes of a play. And the album starts with the song In the Eulogy Red. And bro, this is one of the most creative ways to start an album in my opinion. So he's starting with giving himself a eulogy. So he talks about himself being dead. Everything else in the play, this is song one. So everything else in the album is how he got up to this point where he's dead. So the big question is, he's dead, why is he dead? What's he dead from? And what you'll understand listening to the album is death in this sense is him signing a deal and him being in the music industry. He views that as himself dying. And so each song on the album is him kind of explaining the ways in which he died, what he gave up to get to where he is, what it's like actually being in the industry, and I guess you can call it feeling dead, right? But getting back to the song In the Eulogy Red, the song itself is insane. It's a way to start out an album. The production on this track is crazy. First of all, the bass on this track is disrespectful. Like, niggas don't even have to do all this. It's ridiculous. The bass is just like trunk rattling bass. It sounds like something straight out of Atlanta, which I love. And he comes out the gate spitting. So the thing that stands out about him is he can rap and he can tell a story at the same time. That's something your favorite rapper can't really do. J. Cole, he's kind of one or the other. He's either rapping or he's telling a story. He ain't rapping, and telling a story. Grip is rapping, and he telling a story. So this story is actually pretty compelling too. He's pretty much telling his rags to riches story, but as a eulogy, so he's big up in himself and he's progressing the narrative of the story as well. Bro, he gets busy with the bars out of the gate. Let me read y'all a couple of these lines from my trap phone. Out the gate, he's like, in front of us lies a man that was truly ahead, could have died in the shooting, but ended up a shoe-in instead. Come on, man, wordplay. And when they said hip hop music was dead, your ears they fed, shed sweat, tears, and be like, come on, man. Come on, man. Stop playing with Grip. Stop playing with Grip. But from there, I'll go ahead and kind of get into one of my critiques for the album. So the first couple of times listening, so I'm hearing this song, and the album's called "I Die for This," and he's giving his eulogy. So the first time I'm listening to the album, I'm expecting, okay, he's dead. Now I'm expecting to hear a story about what led up to him dying, like how did he die? But you don't really get that. You kind of get a Tarantino style. I'm going to give you scenes and you kind of piece it all together. So the first couple times I'm listening to this album, I walked away thinking, all right, this concept is great, but the narrative was really hard to follow. But after listening to it a few times, I kind of understood what the logical progression was. And it's gonna sound sad, but it's really emotion and mood, right? So he starts the album. You'll notice most of the songs on the front end of the album are aggressive, and it really starts with not even aggression, but just confidence, and then it turns like arrogance, then it turns into aggression, like, and it turns to like aggression, like I might shoot a nigga, then it like turns into this like he gets manic with it, like he gets wild with it. So some of the songs sound manic, like dude's going through a panic attack, anxiety attack, like it's a bunch of stuff going on. And then after that, the album mellows out, it gains focus. That's when you get a lot of the introspective songs on the album. That's when you get some of those personal cuts. That's when you get a little bit less of like the bass that like slaps you in your face, and get some like songs that are kind of a vibe. But overall, it makes sense. It just took I probably was 2 or 3 listens in before I kind of got to that conclusion. But to kind of fill in the gaps and give you examples of songs that fit that progression of mood or emotion, whatever the heck you want to call it. The song Hands Up, he's kind of starting as, I'm authentic, I actually came from what I rap about, and I understand the influence, I understand the responsibility I have to give a certain message to the people who are listening to me. Dang, I just noticed my light went out, but it's all good because I'm a dark Negro. So then the next track is I Die for This. This kind of takes the confidence, turns into more so arrogance and aggression. And this song is upbeat, has a catchy hook. The production's dope here. Then after the title track, after I Die for This, the song, you start to see how it gets darker, right? So the next song is Momma Told Me, where the beat is way darker. You have more of a darker choir that's forming the melody for the song. The bass is still like thumping. The bass throughout the whole album is pretty sick, but it has a very obvious darker feel. I think the standout, one of the standout verses from the album is on this song with that second verse. Like, bro, read this. Bro, look at this. It sounds, listen to that song now. It sounds better than this looks. Like, this looks great. Pay attention to the rhyme scheme. Say this out loud. And it sounds better than it looks. Then he's like stopping and starting as he's spitting it. And back to what I'm saying about how he's using the rhymes to kind of elevate the feeling that he wants to go for his verse. It's starting to feel manic. It feels like kind of a heartbeat pace going to the way he's rapping. But then speaking of manic, it doesn't get more manic than the next song, Placebo. This track is disgusting. Placebo is my favorite song on the album. It starts off with this beat that feels spacey, it feels disorienting, and it goes perfect with the way that Grip is rapping. It's like he's not really getting into a pocket. He's rapid fire. He's kind of having a consistent flow, but then he's kind of switching a little bit. He's starting his lines like slightly before the beat drops, or he'll let a few beats go by without saying anything. Once you hear the actual song, it'll kind of make a little bit more sense. And as he's kind of getting into a pocket, the beat just switches suddenly, and it goes to Royce da 5'9", who loses his mind. I don't know what got into Royce. Royce rapping like he need to deal with with Shady. Royce and them started the whole sign to deal with Shady, and the debut is mid. Hey, but the verse here is fire. But the verse here is fire. The verse is ridiculous from like a technical standpoint. he gets in this bag where he's rapping like every single word. It's like go back something, on me, on me, and the whole thing is rhyming. It's sick. But matter of fact, it's so sick that you can kind of miss that it's a really significant point of the album. So everything that Grip had been rapping about from the beginning of the album to now was about making it in the industry, pretty much bragging about his success in the industry, rapping about the luxury that comes with success in the industry. And if you actually listen to the Royce verse, he's pretty much critiquing everything that Grip has been rapping about up to that point. But the verse is so flawless from just a rhyme scheme perspective, you can kind of miss it. And I kind of missed it my first couple of times listening to the album. But then these niggas weren't doing enough. The beat switches again, which is great, man. The whole sound is just, or the whole song is, you don't really have a place to rest. Like when you feel like, okay, I understand what's going on with this song, it just slaps you with something else. The first beat on the song had this guitar that was, it's like this synth sounding, I don't know if it was a synth or guitar, I think it was a guitar, and it was kind of in the background. It was part of the melody, but kind of a background instrument for the melody. And then it comes to like the front. So the guitar is the main portion of that second beat. And then they take the same guitar, like distort a little bit, pitch it down a little bit, and make it as toxic as you absolutely can. And then it's the bass for the third part. Over these like boom bap drums. Bro, these niggas are different. And then like the verse here is fire too. Royce is rapping from the perspective of a white executive in the music industry, and then Grip is like rapping as himself. They got this clever thing going on where they both started their verses really similar. So Royce said something like, I'm entitled and white, so I got Harvard on my app. And then Grip is like, I'm black, so I got a target on my back. That was clever. And then they both just go ham for the rest of the song. Song is sick. Then there's another song, Gutter, which is pretty disorienting too. It feels manic as well. But then you have this interlude, the Just Don't Die This Time interlude. And it's a perfect way to kind of split up the first half of the album and the second half. I like the interlude a lot. It's some rock group I haven't heard of, Dead Cassette or something like that. And they and Grip go back and forth with the vocals, or tag team with the vocals. Somebody's singing. It's a lot going on, but it's a good song. And that kind of separates the aggressive first half of the album and then the more introspective second half of the album. Right out the gate on the second half of the album, you got the song A Soldier Story, which I think is also one of the best songs on the album. This one, it's no crazy bass. The beat is more mellow, chill, laid back. And Grip is rapping about being young and being hungry, wanting some success, wanting to provide for his family with music. And it's really a ballad of starting making music, which I think Grip, his debut album only came out 4 years ago, but he's been making music. He's, I think, 30 years old, so he's been making music for 8 years. And he was talking about just grinding, not getting noticed. And finally getting some traction, and then dropping Snubnose, almost quitting after Snubnose dropped, and then finally signing that deal with Shady. The song feels like a ballad. It feels epic. Like I said, it's one of my favorite songs on the album. Then you have some other introspective cuts and some other thought-provoking cuts. One of them being At What Cost. I think this song easily could have been the title track of the album. So this kind of gets into the whole masters discussion and not having ownership of your music and not getting paid because of it. Grip doesn't really add anything to that conversation besides he's adding his perspective to it, like how it directly impacts him. So you kind of feel all these talking points that you've probably heard about masters and ownership and stuff. You kind of feel it with someone who's going through it like right now. And it also kind of made the album like real, which is interesting to say because it's kind of dramatized up to this point. But he's talking about like wanting to quit rap, and it sounds like he's talking about wanting to quit rap now. This doesn't sound like something he's talking about in the past. It's interesting because he's saying, I died for this. This is one of those ways where like Grip is kind of saying, I feel dead right now. Like I got all this success and I feel dead. It's really a impactful song. So he has a few more introspective cuts. Patterns talks about his relationship with his dad. This song was actually a pretty dope song too. He like juxtaposes his relationship with his dad, his relationship with his kids, and you know it sounds like something that you've heard in hip hop plenty of times. But for one, Grip is a phenomenal rapper, so the rhyme schemes, the flows, stuff behind there is really really good. I really like the end of the song where he's like rapping double time and he mentions his dad by name and he has a bar for his dad using his dad's name, which is pretty sick. And then the song Con Man is a song talking about a relationship that he had with some girl from back home where he wasn't able to devote enough time into the relationship because he was chasing success in the music industry. So pretty much those songs kind of detail like the ways in which he died, like what he gave up for being successful in the music industry. I won't say the second half of the album is all mellow and introspective. I mean, I can't say that would be a bold-faced lie. You still got some bangers on here like The Locks, which is basically a bait and switch because they kind of start with this mellow, chill beat. Grip is like floating. And then they just switch the beats and they go into this like really turnt song with the I want the locks. Yeah, the chorus is pretty sick. And then like when he starts rapping his verse, they bring back that disrespectful bass, like just slap me. Like you get beat up the whole album with the bass. The bass is probably the next contender to fight Jake Paul. He also has the song Walkthrough, which is actually pretty cool because it comes right after he raps about signing a deal with Shady, and then he has a song with Eminem right afterwards. Grip's verse is good. Eminem doesn't suck here, which is you gotta take your wins. You gotta take your wins. There's none of the landmines that Eminem normally has in his verses as of I would say as of late, but like since I was a kid almost. But yeah, this verse is actually pretty solid. Grip ends the album on a really high note with the song Pennies. Grip teams up with Atlanta rappers K Nails and Kenny Mason. Grip lets Kenny Mason rub off on him because this song is like getting in that rock bag, that emo bag that Kenny Mason be in on a lot of his songs. But this song is sick. And it's a really high energy way to end the album. K Nails was actually the surprise of this song for me because I haven't heard of the guy before. And he comes in here, he's also rapping like he wants to get signed with Shady. When you're rhyming with Kenny Mason, you're rhyming with Grip, you got to be on it as far as rhyme schemes, and he was there. He had some one-liners in there too that I really liked. He had the line, "My family wasn't Masons, but break down bricks with precision." He also had the line, "The grind sold separately, but that hustle comes as advertised." Then Kenny Mason jumps in the song and he floats on the beat. This beat right here is right up his alley. He gets in there, he uses that kind of that singy songy voice. I think he played it perfectly because going into that song, I'm thinking, okay, he's on this song with Grip who can kind of get in that double time rap pattern, get into some fast flows, and Kenny Mason can get in that bag too. So, but he's smooth. He floats over the first part of it. Then, like on the last 2 or 4 bars of the song, he gets in that shoot it, it's sick. And then Grip just gives one last. All right, just in case y'all don't know, I can rap. I'm gonna rap. His verse here was probably the best on a song with 2 excellent features. So I'll kind of sum up my overall thoughts on the album. One, you need to go listen to it. I'll kind of start with my critiques because I don't have that many. One is, like I said, I thought that narrative was kind of hard to follow. I thought it was a little bit messy. It gets way easier to follow the more you listen to the album, especially since you know kind of how the story is going to turn out. The only other critique is I will say, in my opinion, the album kind of felt its length. I don't think there's necessarily any fat on this album. Like, I don't know if there's any song you can point to. It's like, I would take that out. Maybe the closest is, I don't think Glenwood Freestyle really added that much to the album. It definitely lyrically was the least impressive song on the album. But I kind of know why he put it in there. It was kind of it was some low songs on the album as far as like the mood, some depressing songs on the mood, and kind of brought the energy back up. Maybe you can take out some of the kind of the singing, so like the back half of "And the Eulogy Read," and maybe maybe the song with Big Rube, "Enemy." But I think the reason I say it feels this length is kind of the topics, they overlap a lot. It doesn't necessarily feel like he's rapping about the same thing, but the topics do overlap, and it's a concept, or not a concept, but and it's a theme that we've heard before. We heard about, you know, the music industry not being all that it cracked up to be. I don't even know if I'm using that phrase right. But the pros, man, Grip is one of the best rappers right now, period. And not a lot of guys are able to tell stories the way that Grip is telling stories and still keep that high level of wrapping up. And then the production, if I haven't stressed it enough, the production here is sick. None of the beats feel static. Maybe on the second half, they feel a little bit more, a little less complex, a little bit more static. Like you can kind of anticipate what's happening next. But most of these tracks, it's like either the beat is changing, the bass is turned up in certain parts, the melody's changing, there's some kind of modulation, or it's like there's a bunch of instruments in the background, you kind of pick out a different one each time. But man, the production here is sick, the rapping here is sick. I'm super excited for what he has next. I would love if it's another concept album. I'll go ahead and give this album a rating. I think it's a 8.25 out of 10. It's a really good album. I think this will be on my end of the year list come December. Hey, so look, this is a new channel. I'm putting my heart into this thing for tens of views and my 1 subscriber. Now give me the 2 subscribers by the end of this video. Look, if you are a hip hop snob, like if you listen to nothing but hip hop, but you got this set of music that you can only listen to when you're in private, and you got a whole different set that you gotta play when you got the aux cord, like, this might be the channel for you. I'm gonna be putting up videos at least once a week. I'll at least have a review on either Friday or Saturday. Go ahead and give me a follow if that's the type of content that you're looking for. Give me some criticism, tell me what you think about this review. You agree, you disagree, tell me what you think about the album. And peace.